Alright, just got back from seeing Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, A Lonely Dragon Wants to Be Loved in theaters. This truly is the age of franchise anime films. Pretty much everybody's getting them nowadays. Like, we got Demon Slayer, mostly shonen stuff so far, with like the Demon Slayer and the Jujutsu Kaisen. Chainsaw Man's coming up in a little bit, but now we're starting to see it branch off into like a bunch of other stuff. Like, I would not have predicted Dragon Maid to be one of the to have like a big film tie-in when it first started back in 2017, I believe was the first season. But now we're on to like our this is now the third entry into the franchise, and it's definitely, with the film format, it's definitely a interesting direction to take this franchise, and sometimes for good things, and sometimes for questionable decisions mostly in terms of the overall tone of the film. This is definitely the most action-heavy Dragon Maid entry so far, which I'm not upset by it. I love the action in it. It's really polished. Got some really great choreography. The color design is fucking incredible. But also, on the other hand, it's the action was always like a treat in Dragon Maid. It was never like the main appeal. I'm not saying it's absolutely the main appeal in this, but this is like minute for minute the most action heavy thing Dragon Maid has ever made. So it does seem to like load up a lot on that. I'm not sure if that's necessarily because it was a film, or because that's just how this part of the manga is. Or honestly, I don't even know if this adapts a part of the manga, or this is just like an anime original film. I'm going to assume it's part of the manga, because it still ties into the main themes of the series pretty well. That being like familial bonds and what sort of goes into making a family and stuff, and how family affects us and our point of view on the world. And those aspects are definitely still in this film, with this being a Kana-centric film, with her dad finally coming back into the picture. If you'll recall from Season 1, she was exiled from her clan for playing a prank, and we sort of get the full reveal of what actually happened in that incident, and sort of the emotional crux of the film evolves from there, with the contrast between how humans view the concept of a family versus how dragons kind of just don't view family at all, and how the emotional effects that has had on Kana growing up. And I think for the most part it's handled pretty well. The moments that we got of this were always very poignant and very on message, if in very complicated ways. I think by this point with Dragon Maid, you've gotten the message that humans are, and the dragon characters as well, are very complicated people with very complicated emotions, and so we get to see all the characters work through that. And I will say, like, if you're imagining what this film would be like in your mind, I would say you're probably about half right with what you're imagining. It does have the certain beats that you would expect from this kind of story, but also it presents those beats in some interesting ways that sort of subvert your expectations a little bit and make the flow of the narrative a little bit more interesting. Especially with one of the who turns out to be the central villain of the film. I'm not going to reveal who that is, since he hasn't really, I don't think he's really shown up in any of the promotional material from what I've seen, although, to be quite honest, Crunchyroll did an absolutely piss poor job of marketing this film. They were far too focused on the Chainsaw Man movie. But in any case, since my movie reviews are spoiler free, I will not tell you who this villain is, but I will say that they have a very easily understandable backstory for why they are doing the thing that they do, and how they come into the discussion regarding how dragons view generally the concept of relationships and compassion and all the stuff like that, and how this person sort of plays on those concepts in very thematically and some often very narratively interesting ways. If I had to make like a notable complaint about the film, it's that I was hoping for more of the like slice of life moments that you associate with Dragon Maid. The film definitely has those moments, but not in anywhere near the same quantity or ratio as it is with the TV series. This is definitely, like, I would say at least the back 40% of this film is like a big fantasy adventure kind of thing. Maybe that's a little bit of an overestimate. Like 30 to 35% of the back half of this film is like a big fantasy long stretch of stuff. And even before that, there's a bunch of that stuff in it as well. So I'm happy with the moments that we got, but I do wish that it was more of the more low-key moments of Dragon Maid instead of the big screamy shonen moments. And I love my big screamy shonen moments, but for this franchise in particular, you gotta have a little bit more of the down-to-earth stuff. But I will admit that the down-to-earth stuff that we got was very strong, especially with how a lot of it was presented. This was directed by Tatsuya Ishihara, I believe, who took over the franchise after Takemoto passed away in the arson God, that was 6 years ago now, Jesus Christ. So he took over with season 2, and now he's directing this movie as well. And you can, if you're familiar with Ishihara, you can definitely tell that it's him. Like there was a moment in this film. There's like a scene in a wheat field, and just immediately it looks. If you've ever seen the key visual for Clannad After Story of the girl and the robot standing in the wheat field, there's a shot in this film that looks exactly like that. With the purple sky and everything, and the golden wheat field, and it's all, like, it almost feels like it's a reference to After Story, which Ishihara directed. But speaking of that, this is an incredibly gorgeous film. The color design is so damn good. Just these explosions of color in the dragon fantasy world. The cinematography is very intimate and very like close in. Does a really good job of getting you to visually see the emotions of the characters and how they feel without over explaining itself. I mean, again, this is KyoAni. They are the best at what they do. Like, pound for pound, KyoAni is just the best. I haven't gotten to City yet from the past season of anime, but I am super hyped to finally check that out based on what I've seen of it. But yeah, the character acting is really solid. There's like, even not counting like the hype action scenes and the Sakuga explosions and such like that. Just the character acting is so good. These little moments of Kana just bouncing around, being so happy around Kobayashi and Toru and all that was just so very fun to see. And like the more like intimate moments within Kobayashi's apartment, just these very low-key moments, the way that the set design is always so on point, and the way that he just mess with the lighting just a little bit every now and then to really heighten the tension of a scene or just amplify any given emotion. Yeah, this was a pretty solid film. Unfortunately, I do think it's probably my least favorite thing from Dragon Maid so far. Not that, again, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It still does all of the things that Dragon Maid does. Just, for me personally, it's in the wrong proportion of stuff. Would definitely still... Well, actually, this was only a one-day showing, so you can't go out and see this by the time this is up. But whenever you get around a chance to get around to seeing it, yes, absolutely check this one out. I am feeling probably a strong 7 to a light 8 on this one. Still leaning more towards the light 8 because the way that it approaches the family dynamics and the very slow but deliberate unraveling of what makes the relationships that Kobayashi takes part in was very enrapturing to see. I would definitely watch this again if I was doing like a whole Dragon Maid rewatch. It is good. Alright, so that's it for this review. This is actually probably the last video I will ever film in this setting. I am changing jobs and moving out of state after this, so hopefully I will still be able to do at least this side channel stuff. And I've already batch recorded a bunch of the seasonal wrap-up shows, so there's still going to be like 3 more videos of that coming out. But hopefully where I am moving to will have the Chainsaw Man movie available within reasonable driving distance. So that'll probably be the next, after the next episode of the seasonal wrap-up show, that'll be the next video you see from me. But until then, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.